features on the photo and video sharing app. Good news for parents of adolescents waiting for their turn to get the COVID-19 vaccine. The government is moving to the next phase of vaccination for minors 12 to 17 years old. Our Caroline Bonkin reports.
For the past 2 weeks, the National Children's Hospital has been
good news for parents of adolescents
teenagers with pre-existing conditions against COVID-19, one of 25 facilities tasked to do so. But in a week, they are expecting a surge of vaccinees as all qualified teenagers are now up for inoculation. The Health Department announced the nationwide rollout of Pfizer and Moderna vaccines for ages 12 to 17 on November 3rd. The agency didn't give further details. But Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez says even those who don't have pre-existing conditions may now get vaccinated as they open up more hospitals for pediatric vaccination in the regions.
Kasi magkakaroon na tayo ng more than 50 additional 50 hospitals from all throughout the Philippines.
These past 2 weeks, almost 19,000 adolescents with weak immune system have been vaccinated in Metro Manila. There are still about 12.7 million in this age group waiting for their turn.
Vaccinating more children isn't the only target come November. Also on the table is the administering of third doses for the immunocompromised and booster shots for health workers and senior citizens.
But this is still on hold while the government awaits the World Health Organization's final guidance.
In different brand. Considering na nakita natin na meron tayong issue na gusto ng mga healthcare workers, they will choose their own vaccine.
And they have to wait further until a new emergency use authorization is given that would allow the use of existing vaccines as extra doses. The Food and Drug Administration has started reviewing each brand after the Health Department sent an official request on Tuesday. FDA vaccine experts are checking if it is better to use the same brand or if it should allow the mixing of different vaccines as booster or as an additional dose. They will also check if certain vaccine brands would now require 3 doses.
I'm giving the experts naman time to take a look dahil napakarami rin talaga ng studies. And there are separate studies, we're using at least 7. So yung number of combinations na possible, napakalawak din, napakadami din, dumadami din. So talagang medyo masalimuot ng konti yung pag-check ng mga data available right now.
Final FDA recommendations are expected within a week or 2. Caroline Bonkin, CNN Philippines.
From COVID-19 vaccination to treatment, at least 300,000 bottles of the antiviral pill molnupiravir will be delivered to the country by India in November. The drug companies Medithics and Jack Pharma officials say this is part of 4 hospitals' orders under a Compassionate Special Permit, or CSP. The vials are enough for 300,000 COVID-19 patients. Recent interim studies show the drug could help cut the risk of getting severe COVID and dying by half. The Food and Drug Administration says 31 hospitals and 5 pharmaceutical firms have been granted a CSP to use and import molnupiravir. A drug under a special permit did not go through the rigorous checks by the FDA, and the doctor or hospital who applied for a CSP is responsible for the patient's safety.
It means this is a drug that is under clinical investigation for the use against COVID-19. Kaya lang nakita nga sa early results na maganda naman at very encouraging yung results niya. So maaari ngayon humingi ang pasyente at saka ang doktor ng special permit para madala dito ang gamot na ito at magamit. It has to be dispensed pa rin sa hospital. Siyempre magpapacheck up pa rin naman sa doctor nila yung pasyente, tapos doon siya i-dispense, and the doctor will have to keep track.
Molnupiravir is expected to cost around 100 to 150 pesos per pill or per capsule. A 5-day treatment would need 40 capsules. The country lists 3,218 new COVID-19 infections. This is the lowest single-day tally in over 5 months. The health department also reports 6,660 people recovered from the disease, while 271 more people died. Will new infections soon drop to less than 2,000 daily? The Octa Research Group says based on current trends, this could happen by the end of November. In a tweet, Octa fellow Guido David noted that the 7-day average of new cases decreased from almost 7,000 October 13 to 19 to over 4,800 the following week. The last time cases were this low was on March 12 to 18. The health department earlier said the country is now classified as low risk for COVID-19, even as the use of intensive care beds nationwide remains at moderate levels. An official supervising the management of the Manila Baywalk Dolomite Beach takes the heat over the Environment Department's apparent failure to control the surge of visitors. Environment Secretary Roy Simato announced the relief of Jacob Maimban on Wednesday. Simato says Maimban is taking full responsibility for the overcrowding at the artificial beach, which peaked at more than 120,000 people over the weekend. Maimban will face an investigation by an interagency task force overseeing the Manila Bay rehabilitation. Now, despite giving him the boot, Simato praised Maimban for acting quickly to avert a potential disaster last Sunday. Maimban earlier told CNN Philippines he was worried that the footbridge where throngs of people were lined up could give way because of overcapacity. He ordered the immediate transfer of the entrance and exit points of the beach. Simato insists Maimban did not take the fall for the agency's apparent lapses. He also apologized to the public for the overcrowding.
We are really very sorry what happened. Hindi na maulit yan. It was really unfortunate na nangyari one Sunday na nasira yung tingin ng sa ating concern sa pandemic. We are really very concerned pandemic.
Then we will conduct meetings para malaman kung bubuksan pa ulito after November 3 or tuloy-tuloy nang isasara dahil magkakaroon din ng construction dyan.
But the DNR may face another issue over the Dolomite Beach. Presidential aspirant and Senator Manny Pacquiao says he wants to investigate possible anomalies in the project, including some equipment that are allegedly missing. Undersecretary Jonas Leones says they are ready to cooperate in the probe and that they would reach out to Pacquiao, who also chairs the Senate Committee on Public Works. Those planning to visit Metro Manila's cemeteries have until tomorrow before they close temporarily. Cemeteries and columbariums will be off limits to the public from October 29 to November 2nd. Tristan Adalo tells us authorities have a reminder for families this Undas.
Cesar Sabile is painting the tomb of his family at the Manila South Cemetery. But observing All Saints' Day is different this time around. His wife was also buried in the tomb.
Mother ko, father ko, kapatid ko, ipag ko, at misis ko.
Cesar says he is cleaning the tomb ahead of his family's visit after Undas.
Hindi, babalik kami dito pagkatapos ng Undas. Babalikan namin sila. Kasi kamamatay lang siya. Pangit naman yung hindi namin siya pupuntahan.
It's also a family affair for Maria Gloria Levides when they visit relatives at the Manila South Cemetery.
Mas maaga, mas maganda kasi nga maluwag. Hindi ka pag November 1, naranasan namin dati na ang daming tao, tapos biglang umulan ng malakas. Malakas na tubig doon, basa rin kami pag mas ma-safe ngayon kasi nga, di ba, COVID.
At least 3,000 people visit the Manila South Cemetery daily. This is substantially lower than the over 200,000 visitors that squeezed into the facility before the pandemic.
Tinitignan po natin yung mga tao, yung mga nakakapagpasok ng kontrabando, gaya ng mga pointed objects, mga baril. So far, ngayon wala naman kaming nakakompiska.
Fewer visitors mean lower income for vendors as well as tomb cleaners and painters inside the cemetery.
Medyo matumal din po kasi po sa tao po konti lang po kasi yung pumapasok at saka dumadalaw. Yes, malayo po kumpara sa mga nakaraan nung wala tayong pandemic. Sobrang daming tao po talaga.
Yung mga ibang alaga namin din dumadalaw. Tapos yan, hindi nagpapalinis, hindi nagpapapintura.
CNN Philippines also checked the situation at the Manila Memorial Park in Sucat, Parañaque. The management has yet to give us an updated number of visitors, but thousands also went here since last weekend. Flowers were sent and a handful of visitors also paid their respects to former Presidents Noynoy and Cory, as well as former Senator Ninoy Aquino. While the number of Filipinos going to Metro Manila cemeteries is still manageable, authorities appeal to the public to carefully schedule and plan their visits. A lawmaker even appealed to Filipinos to postpone their visits or observe undas virtually. Tristan Odalo, CNN Philippines.
A major bus depot in Parañaque is requesting bus companies to deploy more units in anticipation of the surge in passengers bound for the provinces this undas. Rex Amita joins us live from the Integrated Terminal Exchange. Rex, how is the crowd there?
Well, behind me are long lines of passengers bound for the provinces. They include commuters who just got out from work and going home to Laguna and Batangas, and those travelers who are going to their home provinces in the Bicol region, Visayas, and Mindanao for the undas. And the terminal officials are expecting the influx of passengers beginning tomorrow until Sunday, which may reach 65,000 passengers daily. That figure is near 70,000 commuters before the pandemic. The MMDA is deploying enforcers to manage bus traffic. The agency has requested companies to field 300 buses to meet the demand.
Nagno-normal na tayo eh. So pinipinpoint na namin ngayon yung mga intersections para mabilis ang turnaround ng mga buses.
Magdagdag din ng konting pasensya kasi of course pinapatupad pa rin natin yung health protocols at magkakaroon pa rin mga konting delays.
If you're traveling to far provinces, book your ticket in advance. If you're bound only to Southern Luzon, it's okay to just walk in and buy your ticket. To reserve your ticket, just call the bus company or PITX. IATF guidelines require passengers to get tickets 48 hours before the trip. Buses must fill in half of seating capacity. Some passengers bound for Bicol tonight got a ticket just this morning, but officials say passengers should make sure they will be allowed entry to their destination.
Wala rin akong idea na na para magpunta dito maaga. Siguro excited lang umuwi. sa tagal ng mga 1 year hinihap na kasi.
Some local governments request passenger manifest in advance. So if your name is not there, you cannot get in even if you have a ticket. Authorities are reminding passengers to always wear face mask and shield inside the terminal and at the bus. And they're also saying that passengers must also prepare in advance their documents as required by the LGU. And most importantly, be patient and calm while waiting for your bus. Back to you.
Rex Remito there reporting. Coming up on Newsnight, presidential aspirant and Vice President Leni Robredo clears the air following her controversial remarks about vote buying. And a faction in the ruling political party reveals it is convincing President Duterte to run for senator in the elections. Details next. Stay tuned to CNN Philippines.
Number 1 ba talaga ang Pure Foods Tender Juicy? The best! No more questions!
Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Presidential aspirant and Vice President Leni Robredo clarifies her position on vote buying. Robredo made a controversial statement yesterday saying it is okay to accept money from politicians as long as you vote according to your conscience. But that did not sit well with a comic official. Our senior correspondent Anjo Alimario has that story.
Parati ko sinasabi, tanggapin nyo kasi galing din naman yan sa atin. Yung pinambibili ng boto, pera din yan ng taong bayan. Pero tatanggapin mo, pero ang iboboto mo kung sino yung nasa konsensya mo.
That's what Vice President Leni Robredo advised kasambahays when she met them virtually in a forum on Tuesday. The moderator sought her help how to deal with the politician buying votes. Robredo admitted that vote buying has been rampant even in her home province, Camarines Sur, and witnessed it firsthand when she ran for a local post. She even filed a case against her rival, but it was dismissed despite the evidence. She pointed out vote buying is wrong and those behind it should be arrested. But some got upset with Robredo's response. Comelec spokesperson James Jimenez tweeted, "Vote buying is an election offense, regardless of financial situation or noble intentions." In her visit to her bailiwick, Bicol region later, Robredo clarified her response.
Hindi natin kinokondone yung vote buying. In fact, isa tayo sa matagal ng nakikipaglaban sa vote buying. Pero hinihingi natin sa ating mga otoridad na sana yung enforcement nito maging maayos.
The presidential hopeful laments the poor enforcement of laws against politicians handing out bribes.
So sa atin, aware tayo sa nasa batas. Hindi tayo masaya na hindi ito na-enforce. Pero dapat bukas yung mata natin sa realities on the ground.
Another presidential aspirant, Senator Manny Pacquiao, who's been seen giving away cash and goods during his sorties with supporters, sees nothing wrong with what he's doing. Pacquiao argues the money that he's been giving away came from his own pocket.
Tuloy lang ako dahil hanggat hindi bawal dahil ginagawa ko naman yun noon. Ayaw ko naman, siguro naiinggit sila dahil ginagawa ko na mula pa noon hanggang ngayon.
Back in 2016, then Vice Presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos also said, ignore those who are buying votes. But if ever, just take the money and vote for your own candidate. Presidential bet Senator Panfilo Lacson warned voters back in 2019 that they would suffer for a longer period of time if they think accepting money or selling votes is the only way to benefit from a politician. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno says people can't be blamed if they take bribe considering the current situation. But he adds they're smart enough to spot the real from the fake leader. Labor leader Caliore de Guzman points out vote buying will persist as long as many remain hungry and choices are limited to billionaires and those from political dynasties. In Naga City, Anjo Alimario, CNN Philippines.
Another presidential aspirant, Senator Bato de la Rosa, also weighing in. He says vote buying is illegal and immoral. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno is willing to unite with fellow presidential aspirants if it means discussing ways to address the country's problems. In my interview with Moreno on Politics as Usual, he said he's ready to talk with Vice President Leni Robredo and Senators Panfilo Lacson and Manny Pacquiao. There have been speculations about Davao City Mayor and presidential daughter Sara Duterte joining forces with presidential aspirant Bongbong Marcos.
If we are going to unite on the issues at hand, and challenges of our people, then I'm willing. But if you're going to unite just to win, because they wanted to win, no, medyo hindi ako masyadong ano doon eh. Kasi kailangan, ang pag-usapan natin yung problema ng tao, yun ang pagkaisahan natin, yung katatayuan ng tao.
Moreno also dismissed rumors branding him as a Duterte candidate or a secret presidential bet allied with the administration. Now, 3 Commission on Elections officials will be stepping down on February 2nd, just 3 months before the 2022 polls. They are Commissioners Rowena Guanzon and Antonio Co, as well as Chairman Sherif Abbas, whom I also spoke to on Politics as Usual last night. Abbas said he will leave the decision to the appointing authority, but stressed very important criteria for those who will fill up the vacancies.
Ang importante kasi dito is yung integrity nung papasok. Okay? More on the integrity because this is an independent commission and you have to balance all interests. Dapat hindi ka bias sa lahat ng mga kakandidato sa election.
Abbas added the replacements must be appointed early next year for the Comelec and Bank to reach a quorum and make decisions on matters. You can still watch Politico's usual replay on Sunday at 7:30 p.m. A faction in the ruling party, PDP Laban, still wants President Duterte to join the 2022 race. In a statement, the faction's president, Alfonso Cusi, says the group is convincing Mr. Duterte, who is also party chairman, to run for the Senate after dropping his vice presidential bid. Cusi adds the chief executive can also be the campaign manager of standard bearers, Senators Bato de la Rosa and Bongo. The Winged Secretary General Melvin Matibag earlier said they were considering substitutions in their Senate slate but did not say who among the aspirants may withdraw from the race.
Honestly, hindi pa po talaga kompleto at tapos kasi that one I can certainly admit to you na meron po kaming mga nakahanda na pwede pong i-substitute pa until November 15 po.
In COVID-related headlines overseas, in the United States, the Food and Drug Administration recommends the Pfizer vaccine for 5 to 11 years old. The agency says the benefits of giving children the shot are greater than the potential risks. The Centers for Disease Control will also discuss the vaccine next week, where its director will make the final decision. If approved, the rollout could begin a few days later. In Brazil, a Senate commission recommends 9 charges against President Jair Bolsonaro for his supposed failed pandemic response. A Senate investigation alleges Bolsonaro committed crimes against humanity, saying his mismanagement of the crisis led to the deaths of over 600,000 Brazilians. This is the world's second highest COVID-19 death toll. Meanwhile, Bolsonaro insists he is not guilty of any crimes. In China, the government is ramping up testing because of new outbreaks. Over 100 cases have been reported in 11 provinces since October 17th, mostly in the northern part of the country. China earlier reimposed lockdowns for hundreds of thousands of people and canceled a marathon in Beijing to curb the spread of the virus. President Duterte thanks the United States for its COVID-19 vaccine donations to member states of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Mr. Duterte and other world leaders welcomed American President Joe Biden to his first ASEAN-U.S. summit, which his predecessor Donald Trump skipped since 2017. Mr. Duterte also stressed the importance of bilateral, regional, and international cooperation to ensure access to COVID-19 vaccines and medicines. Meanwhile, Mr. Biden reaffirmed his support, saying the ASEAN can expect him to personally show up and reach out to member states to deepen relations. He also intends to launch a new initiative worth over $100 million to enhance cooperation on various issues. Still ahead on Newsnight, 2 much-awaited features are finally available for Filipino Instagram users, and here's one for movie buffs. Dune is getting a sequel after a blockbuster debut. More when we return.
Love is all about time. Di minamadali ang pagpapasarap. Like the love in every Pure Foods ready-to-eat. Slow-cooked and ready in 8 minutes. Para may time ka sa mga mahal mo. Because love takes time.
Kabilang ba kayo sa mga Pilipino na nahihirap?
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. Step up your social media game through 2 new Instagram features just made available in the country. Instagram Reels lets users experiment with short-form videos lasting up to 60 seconds. This comes with video editing tools, including some for adjusting speed and for physical touch-ups. The platform also rolled out Instagram Music, which lets you add song stickers and lyrics to your stories. Reels was introduced to other countries in 2018, while Instagram Music first came out last year. Now in music, after tickets sold out during the pre-sale, worldwide sensation BTS is giving fans another way to see their first set of in-person concerts in 2 years. The group announced the permission to dance on stage, live play, a real-time broadcast of their Los Angeles SoFi Stadium event. This will be held at the YouTube Theater on the same dates, November 27 and 28, and December 1 and 2. Fans can reserve a seat through Ticketmaster. And for fans of the book-turned-film Dune, mark your calendars. A target date for the sequel has been announced. Dune Part 2 is set for release on October 20, 2023. It'll adapt the second half of Frank Herbert's novel. Hollywood blockbuster starring Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya already made over $200 million globally. Dune hits theaters here beginning November 10. And before we go, here a few words on what to expect from the sci-fi classic's big screen adaptation, right from the cast and director. CNN's Rick Damigella has a report.
You inherit too much power. You have proven you can rule yourself. Now you must learn to rule others.
Timothée Chalamet stars in Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of Frank Herbert's Dune.
One of the first scenes I've done with Timothée was the gum jabbar scene.
The test is simple. Remove your hand from the box, and you die.
I witnessed a physical transformation into a Paul Atreides in his face, and there's something that came up from Timothée that day that if you had seen me behind the monitor, I was crying and dancing of joy because I said, oh my God, he's truly Paul Atreides.
If anything happens, will you protect Paul? With my life.
Rebecca Ferguson portrays Paul's mother, Lady Jessica.
She's so complex and layered. She's not just strong and cool and a concubine. You know, this woman will put her son in front of a test where the outcome can become death for the greater belief.
Fear is the mind killer.
My Lord Duke.
Where the fear is gone, only I will remain.
In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
We have 59 days before Christmas, and that is it for now. Join me again on news.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Huy, noon sa man ka. Nagbugot lagi ka. Kabalon ako. Ikapoy ka no. Sakit imong lawas tungod sa sobrang trabaho? O sakit imong ulo tungod sa stress? Pahuway una. Ginhawag lawom. Ug hiluta ang imong ulo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Kay mausab ni akong ginahimo. Maong akong taas ang tensyon sa trabaho. Mag Herbalaya break sa
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
O, anyari sa'yo? Nakasimangot ka. Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
Got your 2-dose vaccination? Present your vaccination card and enjoy more and more perks for you. Free KCC Bonus Card membership or free KCC Bonus Card renewal. Get 100 peso shopping reward for your next shopping using your KCC Bonus Card to enjoy more choices at KCC Department Store. And wait, there's more from our KCC participating participating stores. Nakapabakuna na, panalo ka pa. Visit promo booth at basement level and KCC participating stores for more details. Vaccine win in KCC, kaya magpabakuna na.
Huy, naunsa man ka? Nagbugot lagi ka. Kabalon ako. Ikapoy ka no. Sakit imong lawas tungod sa sobrang trabaho? O sakit imong ulo tungod sa stress? Pahuway una. Ginhawag lawom ug hiluta ang imong ulo gamit ang Herbalaya liniment oil. Kay mausab ni akong ginahimo. Maong akong taas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break sa
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy nakaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
RPN Radio Philippines Network. Radyo Ronda. DXXX Zamboanga. Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Bayan Muna Party List Representative Carlos Zarate says the Makabayan bloc is still waiting for talks with Vice President Leni Robredo as the group has yet to throw its support to a particular presidential aspirant. Zarate says the Makabayan bloc's processes should be respected as he denied former Senator Antonio Trillanes' claim that the group does not support Robredo's bid. He says all groups under the Makabayan coalition should be consulted before it decides on who to support in the upcoming polls. Zarate adds the coalition is also in talks with Senator Manny Pacquiao and Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, who are also both running for president. Makabayan bloc senatorial bet Nery Colmenares trended on social media recently as netizens call for his inclusion in Robredo's senatorial slate. Joining us now is the former Makabayan Party List Representative Nery Colmenares. Attorney Nery, magandang gabi po sa inyo. So parang there are two issues here, yung ang inclusion or non-inclusion po ninyo so far sa slate ni Vice President Leni Robredo at ni Senator Kiko Pangilinan, senatorial slate by the way, and the non-declaration or ang Makabayan hindi pa rin pumipili na kung sino ang kanilang or inyong presidential bet. But let's first begin with this, sir, yung unang issue doon. For some reason, kumbaga para bang people don't want the left to forget its past, no? So we've seen several of Leni Robredo's supporters point out on social media that in 1986, for example, nag-boycott pa kayo ng eleksyon. Hindi po kayo sumama doon sa opposition that had the unified slate of Cory Aquino and Doy Laurel as president and VP. And then in 2016, nakipag-alyansa daw po kayo with President Duterte, with several joining his cabinet. Tapos ngayon, para bang out in the cold na naman kayo daw, no? What's going on, no? Bakit parang inuungkat po ito? Bakit nilalabas na naman ito? What's going on in the forces that are supposed to be arrayed against the Duterte and Marcos, the possible Duterte and Marcos team up?
Yes, well, actually, yung 2016, it's been dredged up again. But I would like to express assured yan talaga. We supported Grace Poe until the very end. So, klaro yan sa amin. No? So, sa akin, hindi dapat iungkatin yan. Pero sige, kung ungkatin man yan, ito ang issue ngayon. We are going to unite sana to oppose the return of the Marcoses and of course President Duterte in Malacanang. It is clear naman, Pia, that we are the part of the opposition eh. So I hope na makilala naman ng lahat yan. Marami kaming mga activists and human rights defenders na namatay under President Duterte precisely because he considers us as an opposition, a part of the opposition, at very scathing talaga yung attacks namin sa kanya, and is intolerant of dissent. We know that. So I'm not saying that the other political parties did not suffer death or may mga arrested din sila o posible may mga patay na rin sila. But I'm saying na we are genuinely opposing President Duterte. We did not support President Duterte in 2016. In fact, that is already clear para sa amin. No? If you look at the meeting, the Avance of Makabayan in 2016, we said there, right there sa last speech of the election, ano ang gusto nyo? Kamay na bakal? or presidenting may puso. Klaro talaga yung aming decision doon. Now, the fact that some members of Makabayan campaigned for President Duterte should not sana parang render the entire Makabayan process as parang nag-Duterte na kami. The fact that certain liberal parties, for example, supported Duterte, I wouldn't go to the lengths of saying that Liberal Party went for President Duterte. So sa akin, ganun yung context sana dyan na titingnan ng lahat.
Yeah.
But in any case, nandito na tayo sa 2022
right now,
and I hope opposition yung mag-unite ang opposition against him.
Oo nga eh. Kasi from the outside, para bang what it looks like, Attorney Neri, is para bang lahat nagtuturuan ba? Kasi ikaw, parang ganun na nangyayari, no?
Yes,
so, you know, I wanted to ask you, in your estimation, no, what do you think really is getting in the way of uniting or unifying the opposition against a possible Duterte-Marcos? Kasi yun ang, para bang yun ang common, ano? Yun ang sinasabi ng apat na grupo eh. So, if you were to say it in one word, Attorney Neri, ano po ba? What is getting in the way of unity?
Yeah, mahirap sa one word, Pia, di ba? Kasi there are various reasons there, I guess. Hindi mo pwedeng i-sum up.
Yeah.
Pero is it uphill? For a long period of time, Duterte was so very effective in intimidating everybody. Kaya hindi talaga nakabangon ng opposition for a long time eh. Controlled niya mga LGUs, intimidated yung mga checks and balance institutions, nanghuhuli, may patayan, gano'n. Now, the good thing there is there are efforts to unify the opposition. And the other good thing is nagdi-disintegrate ang Duterte Alliance. May giyera ang hugpong, may giyera with PDP Laban, may giyera within PDP Laban, ang pro-US at pro-China naglalaban within the Duterte camp. Many of their subalterns are now transferring to other candidates. Yeah. I guess that's the positive side there also, other than the fact that we're still trying to unify the opposition after all these months.
Yeah, okay. Well, you're pointing to two, well, in a way, sir, external factors, because the disintegration, like you said, of the Duterte alliances with so many groups, and then yung the Duterte administration going after going after all these critics of his, no? But what is it within? Kasi syempre may external at may internal din
Yes.
Ano po ba yung problema? May internal there is something within itong apat na grupo, pati yung sa inyo, that is preventing this. What is it?
Well, President Leni Robredo tried to talk to the other opposition candidates at siguro na nalaman niya kung ano ang dahilan dito. Para sa akin talaga yung mayroong sigurong dahil walang history ng cooperation, yung all the opposition, all those candidates running against the Duterte candidate, siyempre, there is the need to magpakilanlanan sila. And I hope magkakaroon ng trust basis din among themselves. Now, mga supporters, I mean, you cannot control your supporters. But ang palagi kong sinasabi, ang mga candidates themselves, they should not be swayed by the voices sa social media. If they want to unite, they should do that. Is that possible still? Well, it's more difficult now. Nagsasagutan na yung mga presidential candidates. But I would like to think na sana somewhere along the way, they will realize that only one of them can win. And only one of them can, if therefore, they should support the other who can win. Diba? Duterte will be very vindictive if he wins. He will go after all opposition candidates na lumaban sa kanya if he returns to Malacanang.
Yeah, well, I like how you're so positive about this, parang sinasabi po ninyo, somewhere down the road you will unify.
Yeah.
But, sandali lang po, Attorney Neri, kanina sabi po ninyo, President Leni Robredo, or did you say Vice before you said President? Nag-slip of the tongue po ba kayo? Or, did I hear you right?
Huh? I meant Vice President Robredo.
You meant Vice President, but you said President.
I meant Vice President. Sorry about that.
Okay, pero what are you saying? Siya na po ba yung pinili ninyo ng Makabayan? Or siya na ba yung napupusuan ninyo? Kasi may ganyan sir. Ano yan? Slip of the tongue? Ganon?
No. Yeah, slip of the tongue yun. Kasi Vice President, ano lang yun, slip of the tongue. Klaro ang aming pronouncement yan. Wala pa kaming pinipili na kandidato sa ngayon. In fact, si Vice President Lenny, we've been wanting to talk to her for some time to discuss issues and platforms. Unfortunately, it failed for some reasons. But we're still hopeful at sinabi niya that 12 slot is still open at yung issue ng platform very important.
Okay.
Pia, I'd like to stress lang, the issue of platform is very important for us because we have constituencies. Now, inclusion in the slate is part lang yan, 50% lang yan. But it's not merely what is in it for me. It is also what is in it for the people. So we need to go to our members and say, well, this candidate believes in land reform or believes against contractualization or whatever. And it's very important, crucial sa amin yung ganong discussion. And because we have not talked with the Vice President, hindi kami makadecide sa ngayon.
Okay. So inclusion in the slate, let's leave it for a little later in the show. No? But I wanted to ask about itong, yun nga, no, yung sinasabi po yun, you have to go back to your people and explain kung ano ba yung platform nito, ganito, ganyan. No? So ang isang issue dito is yung mga makakasama mo sa slate. Meron po ba kayong ayaw makasama sa slate? Na para bang, as far as you're concerned, non-negotiable, I'm not gonna take it kung kasama ito si so or so and so sa slate. Pero po ba kayong ganon or you're not going to be choosy?
In the first place, when Vice President Robredo excluded me from her announced slate, my position and our position has been, it's her prerogative. It's the prerogative of the presidential candidate to choose their senator. I don't think it's in my place to tell her what to do, di ba? So maybe I could agree or disagree with some of the slate, but in the end, it's her choice. So I don't think I will intervene doon sa kanyang slate and tell her. Now, supporters and other allies and so on of President Leni Robredo, of course, they have all the right to speak. But me, I would be presumptuous probably to say na, oy, pag mapili ako dyan, ayoko ng ganyan, ayoko ng ganyan. Secondly, and more importantly, dapat ang stress na natin dito, unification of the opposition. Hindi pwedeng magtirahan na, ayoko niyan. It will create more dissension. Tatawanan tayo ni Duterte at ni Marcos dito eh. So para sa akin, mas yun ang focus siguro. And let the president or the presidential candidate, whoever, I mean, Isko and Senator Manny and Lenny, to decide kung sinong senatorial candidates nila. Prerogative nila yan. And I don't think I will say that to Leni Robredo about her slate.
Okay, marami pa po tayong tanong para sa inyo, Attorney Nery Colmenares, senatorial aspirant. We're going to get to that in just a bit so that we can find out more about your views and plans should you win a seat. And also, later on in the show, in music, Tony Bennett's new album making for another achievement for this 95-year-old jazz icon. Details when we come back. Welcome back to CNN Philippines. Still with us is Makabayan senatorial aspirant Nery Colmenares. Attorney Nery, there are a few candidates on the slate of VP Leni Robredo who have, to say it very mildly, have reservations about you. What do you think of that? For example, Sani Trillanes.
Well, when we were informed by the camp of Vice President Leni Robredo about more than 2 weeks ago that there were objections, and we were informed it was Senator Trillanes. I didn't raise it. We didn't raise it anytime. Even after her exclusion of me in her announcement 2-3 days ago, when I said, it's her prerogative, I didn't mention about the objections because I had no intention, really, Pia, of diverting the issue towards that. Anybody in the senatorial slate probably would have all the right to say no or yes to that one, and it's up for the Vice President to decide. Now, so sa akin, ang unity ng opposition is more important now, and that is the prerogative of the Vice President again, if she listens to the part of her senatorial slate or not. If she listens, then again, wala naman ako magawa doon, di ba? But if she believes in that the kabayan can help, our national machinery can help, our 3.5 million voter base can help, our poll watchers can help, our social media warriors can help, then so be it. Then we will be very happy. What is clear, we want to defeat Duterte and Marcos here. So whether we're part of any slate or not, we will pursue this endeavor to make sure that they are not in Malacanang in 2022.
So you're willing to set aside all these differences. I mean, I can't help but say, it sounds so refreshing. It sounds so strange to hear you talk this way. Although you always have this very malumanay tone of voice.
Yeah, I'd like to add there, Pia, this election is really very different from the other elections. This is survival na ito nating lahat ang at stake dito. We cannot have another 6 years of this kind of COVID response. We cannot have another 6 years of pinamimigay ang ating mga yamang dagat sa China. We cannot have that. So this is the survival at stake. So iba ang requirements sa lahat na yon. At sinasabi ko sa mga kasama namin na kahit we can demand from the candidates to unite, but we must also show among ourselves that we unite. How can we unite the candidates if we show among ourselves that we don't unite, diba? So we don't have the moral authority to impose on them the unities if we ourselves cannot have unity. So I'd like to focus on that because Duterte will probably win if we continue bickering at each other. So I'm not, call me eternal optimist, but I think there will still be the chance that people will realize that this is survival of the Filipino people is at stake, and we will unite no matter what because we want to defeat Duterte and Marcos in 2022.
Yes. Okay, well, Attorney Neri, you mentioned the pandemic and China, for example. I have a question about this health crisis. No, if you were to have a say, let's say there is the president who is elected is on your side and you get elected to the Senate. How would you want to have the health crisis managed differently? I know you are a lawyer and you can out-talk anyone, but there, baka you can summarize that.
Free healthcare, very important. Kaya ng gobyerno ba tustusan ang libreng gamot at libreng paggamot? I believe so. Kung kaya natin mangako ng free tuition, we can do free healthcare sa lahat without any qualms. Pag pumunta ka sa ospital, libre hospitalisasyon, libre konsultasyon, libre operasyon. And we can do that. Secondly, ang COVID response natin must not only be vaccine-centered. It must also focus on contact tracing. It must also focus on mass testing. Because unless we do these things, hindi paulit-ulit lang yung COVID, di ba? So, bakuna is very important, very good, but we also need these other aspects ng COVID response, which Duterte is not doing. And I don't believe in the loan-generated kind of COVID response ng utang na hindi naman ang mamamayang Pilipino magbabayad dyan. He's borrowed 2.6 trillion last year, he's going to borrow 3 trillion last year. Saan napunta yung perang yon? Maraming hindi nakatanggap ng ayuda. So, yung ayuda would be very important din. Sorry, lawyer of me to talk longer than I should.
Yes. I know. Attorney Neri, yes or no questions na lang po. No explanation, yes or no. First, do you favor easier public access to the SALN of the President, Vice President, members of Congress, Senators, Congressmen? Yes or no?
Yes. Access dapat sa public. Makabayan has always issued our SALNs publicly.
Okay. Okay, sir, wala na pong explanation. Do you support lifting foreign ownership limits in the Constitution? Yes or no? I think I know what you're going to say. Do you favor the reimposition of the death penalty for drug-related crimes? Yes or no?
No.
Should the sitting president be allowed to run for VP in the next? Should the sitting president be allowed to run for VP in the next election? Although President Duterte hasn't filed the COC. Okay, no. Do you favor resuming peace talks with communist rebels? Yes or no?
Yeah.
It's a yes.
Yes. Peace is important.
And lastly, should the country be more aggressive in protecting its maritime interests in the West Philippine Sea? Yes or no, sir?
Yes, very much. We should be more aggressive than now.
Attorney Nery
We need to
Colmenares, thank you,
protect.
sir, very much for joining us tonight here on Newsnight on Up Close. Salamat po, sir.
Maraming salamat din po.
When we
Kuya.
return,
Good evening
netizens
po.
are getting excited to hear a K-pop